Hello. It's me, Rory Paddock, for pixelandpaddock.co.uk. It is just gone 8:40 p.m. on Friday evening, and it is time for the Friday night form book. I'm joined by Mr. Luke Tucker and Mr. Matt Polly, the team here at PFTP. We'll be looking at a couple of races from Newmarket, including the Group 1 July Cup, and also giving our best bets of the entire weekend. How are we doing, chaps?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Bad.
Chaps, we'll do it. I might as well do it in time order. Start things off. 350 Newmarket, Bunbury Cup, Cavalry Charge. Another tricky one to decide from that.
Yeah. I mean, lots of horses in here with chances. Obviously, goes without saying. You've got some horses that have competed in this race and this type of race for quite a few seasons on the spin now, and obviously a few up and comers, especially there's a 3-year-old in there and a couple of improving 4-year-olds. So devilishly difficult. I think we've had a couple of hefty showers at Newmarket here this evening, and it's very grey and overcast as I look outside my back door currently. I think the ground has probably been on the far side for the first 2 days of the meeting, and there are some heavy showers forecast for tonight and tomorrow. So wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if it was good ground tomorrow. I don't think it will affect the draw. I don't think the draw is going to be found, but I think it will be affected by where the pace is, which is usually the case. And we've got a few in here that can make the run and shine so bright. Who's drawn low, he's a very keen type of horse, and on a session who's also can get a bit keen in these races, has drawn high. So I think there's pace across the track, which is good. I think there's no doubt the Cheveley Park operation hold the strongest hand here. They've got 2 in this, and they're near the head of the market. Amethyst, who's on a roll, he's one of his last 3 races for Willie Haggis. He's improving at a rate of knots, and I think still not the mark of 96 could underestimate. But I'm going to go for the other Cheveley Park runner, who runs in the first colours for John and Thady Gosden, and that is Fundamental, who I really liked at the start of the season. He hasn't really done a lot wrong, but he also, on the other hand, hasn't quite gone on as expected. But his last run in the Jersey was very good, where he finished 5th to Creative Force. His form ties in here a little bit with Perotta, who's the likely favourite, through Creative Force. And I just think at the prices, he's currently about 15 to 2, 8 to 1-ish. I think that if we get enough showers, because I think he probably likes to get his toe in a little bit, I think this race could be run to suit. I think he'll probably be held up in mid-division, and he ran really well at Ascot. He was drawn arguably on the wrong side, on the far side, when most of the action was on the stand side. And I think being a 3-year-old and could be on the up a little bit, and I think his form is in a handicap from what he's done so far is pretty good in the context of this race. So it's fairly a price based value at 15 to 2. So he'll do for me.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's you can make a case for about half the field in a race like this. I think I'll be dead honest. I was looking through the race, and there's nothing that I am so strong against, because as soon as I found perhaps an angle with one horse, I'd find another with another horse or something to write it off, and there's nothing that I could get overly giddy about. So I've just had to go for something at a decent price. With that many runners, bookies paying at maybe 5, maybe 6. I'm hoping that just something at a price picks up a bit of place money. Couldn't be really confident with anything in terms of having sort of win bets, but I've gone for Cliffs of Capri. I know he's not the most sort of prolific. Has been pretty poor this season, in all honesty, but has gone well in decent handicaps, off much better marks. It's interesting as well that the horse's form at Newmarket his one run and one very decent second place. He's never returned to HQ since then. Like I said, I'm not overly convinced with anything in the race, if truth be told, but worth a shot at a big prize. I think it is currently, let's have a look there. It is, where we go, find the price there. King of Capri, Cliffs of Capri, sorry, 33-1. So again, potentially drawn, higher number, sort of mid to high number. I think that should be beneficial, like you touched upon, Matt. But yeah, 33-1, a tentative selection in the Bunbury Cup, if truth be told. Luke, are you any more confident with anything?
No, it's just it's a muddly race, isn't it? It's like I said, you two have hit the nail on the head there. Really, it just is anyone's. Really, it could be you could run it 10, 20 times and you could get a completely different result every single time. I couldn't not use saying Cliffs of Capri. I certainly will. If they're playing 6 places, some bookies, then it's got a great chance of placing at 25, 33-1. I think you're laughing, really. The one I do like is the one that won it last year, Motakeo. It's £4 higher tomorrow than he was this time last year. But I think a little bit of rain, like Matt says, a good ground, and if it goes to good rather than good to firm, that might just help the horse a little bit. Like I said, been there and done it, won it before. Fundamental as well. But just for me, for Motakeo, I think that one just has won it this time last year. Hannon obviously has had a big winner with Snow Lantern today. So yeah, I just think for that one, really, like I said, at a bigger price, you couldn't knock Cliffs of. Yeah, I just think, it's not a strong.
I mean, Frankie's on board as well with Motakeo, so I mean, always a bonus, isn't it? Jeez. I couldn't argue with either of yours, but like I said, I mean, I could make a case for about half the field, so it's a pin and it job for me. Moving on to perhaps bigger and better things, we've got the July Cup, the big race of the day. It is the, let's have a look, it's the 425, and it's still at HQ Newmarket. Let me bring that up now. I will kick things off. I'll go to you first, Luke. Obviously, it's a Group 1 race. We've got, to be honest with you, I would argue that this is perhaps, I know it's maybe with form in the book now, but perhaps a better race than any of the sprints that we saw at Ascot. I think they've got some serious sort of like sprinting talent, which is seriously on the upwards. The likes of Dragon Symbol, Creative Force, Rahan, who've all racked up multiple wins in a row. Luke, you're shot in the dark with this Group 1.
I mean, I'll be honest. I keep looking at the favourite for me, the Starman. Obviously, didn't go to Royal Boring, but it's just I think this is a really progressive colt, and I just think there's still a lot of untappedness with this horse. It's still relatively, obviously, lightly raced as well. Hasn't been ridden loads, to be honest. So, yeah, I think that. I mean, you could make a case for a lot of the Oxted. I think was impressive last time out. Dragon Symbol. I just think it's not. I'm not sure about that. I just think that form, I don't want to crib it, but I just think it's different conditions this time than it is. The last two races have been heavy. It's been on, so it'd be interesting to see. It has won on good ground before, but I just think it's completely different and it's a step up. Just not sure it might get caught out there, but you could make, Creative Force, look at the form of that. You can't knock that. But for me, I'm going to be a bit Glen Shield as well. Obviously, you probably will want the rain. But for me, I'm going to go Starman. I think. I just think that's still it's 4-1, 7-2. I think it's not bad for a win bet. But that's the one I would go for. It's not the most exciting and fanciful one to pick, a 4-1 shot, but I just think it's got a great chance. It really has.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I think the two at the top of the market are absolutely solid, and the reason why I'm going to side with Oxted is purely on the fact that he has course form. He's run well at Newmarket 2 or 3 times, and he's a good looking horse. But for me, all his form's been on flat tracks, and I just for some reason there's a slight doubt in my mind that when a horse has only ever run on flat tracks, sometimes the undulations at Newmarket can be problematic. I might be making something of nothing, but that's the one thing that tips it in the favour of Oxted for me is his course form. And I thought he did really well to win the King's Stand over 5 because he's arguably better over 6. He's quite a strong stayer at 6, and they obviously went too quick in the King's Stand, didn't they? And Batash made his move for home probably a bit too soon, and Oxted has outstayed them basically. And I think 6 furlongs is his trip. He won't mind if there's a shower of rain, and I think his course form is probably the thing that's just going to reg it out, because you've got the 2 3-year-olds in there obviously, but Dragon Symbol has had 6 runs now in the space of just over 2 months, and his last race was a particularly hard race, wasn't it, when he was all out against the Wesley Ward horse. It's a big ask, isn't it, for he only made his debut in May, and now we're in first 2 weeks of July, and he's in another Group 1. That'd be enough to put me off him. Creative Force is definitely a danger. He's improving at a rate of knots. He reminds me a little bit of Space Blues, the other Godolphin horse, who's quite versatile from 6 furlongs to a mile. He reminds me a little bit of him. Maybe in the future. Rohan, well, it'd be an absolute dream. Won at Gelding, gone through the ranks, and I think, didn't he win his first race off a mark of 50 something? I mean, that's absolutely astonishing. And but I think that might be one step too far for Rohan. So Oxted would be my selection, but I just give a mention to a horse at a massive price, which I think could outrun her odds, is Miss Amulet. Now, you can put a line through her first run in her 3-year-old career in heavy ground over a mile. She's definitely a sprinter. She's a 6 furlong horse, and some of her form as a 2-year-old was fairly good. It was fairly solid. She was only just beaten by Alcohol Free as a 2-year-old. I mean, that form looks pretty good now. There's 2 things to take into account here: is that she's a 3-year-old filly, and it's a tall order, and has she actually trained on? Because we've got no evidence of that so far. But I think at around 50s or 66, she is the one horse that could outrun her odds. So I'd go for Oxted, but maybe Miss Amulet to squeeze into a place at a massive price.
Yeah, Miss Amulet, best price at the moment of 50 to 1. Yeah. It's another tough one, but I must admit that the horse I like the most in this, I'm certainly more confident in this. You touched upon it earlier when you were talking about Oxted, Matt. Thing that sort of swayed it for you is a horse with course form. If you're looking for a horse with course form, you can't look much further than Summergand, as far as I'm concerned. I think 66 to 1 is massive. I know it's, like I said, I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that, the old adage, horses for courses, but like I said, here at HQ, he's raced here 6 times and never finished outside of the first 2. Now, obviously, I'm not too foolish to not understand the parameters of that, and I understand that none of those were in this company, but he did beat Oxted earlier in the season, and I just think 66 to 1 is ludicrous for a horse who clearly acts well here, loves it at the course. It's just a massive price. A lot of horses, especially there's quite a lot of youngsters here that still have question marks. Summergand's probably had a tough season. I understand you've got to take that into consideration. But I just think, again, do I think he's going to win? No, I don't. But when we've got, what is it? Is it 17 or 19 runners? Again, a bookie paying first 5 or 6. Can't see this horse being outside of the first 5 or 6. Summergand 66 to 1. You know what? If there's a bookie paying a quarter of the odds, so what? Just over 15 to 1, 16 and a quarter to 1. Or if they're paying a fifth of the odds, it's paying what? 12 to 1, 13 to 1 for a place. I'll take that any day of the week. You're going to get more money back than backing some of the short price favourites. And I would be absolutely shocked if Summergand didn't place in this. That's all. Moving on, chaps. Obviously, those are the sort of 2 major races of the day from HQ. But as we did last week with our first ever Friday night form book, I want your best bets of the weekend. I'm going to come to you first, Matt. Where is your best bet on either Saturday or Sunday this weekend?
So there's a lot of racing this weekend on this Saturday in particular, isn't there? And big handicaps galore. But I thought I'd have a stab at the John Smith's Cup at York. I've got history with a couple of horses in this race. The 2 at the head of the market, actually, Astro King who I thought would win the Royal Hunt Cup, and he was well clear on. He won his race handsomely on this side, on the stand side, but got beat by a Godolphin horse that looked like it had jumped into the race a furlong out. So he's definitely got a chance. I'd be a bit worried if it rained, if it got any softer at York for him, because he definitely looks like he wants fast ground. And the same probably, even though Our Day has won on softest ground, they were probably less quality races than this one. And he's a horse we've talked about this horse in 2 previous podcasts. He's a horse I like and I don't want to give up on. And it looks like there's a bit of money for him. He's second in the market, but I'm really drawn to a horse here. I'm not a massive each way fan, but I think this horse is worth a stab each way, and it's a horse called Lucanda, trained by Ralph Beckett and ridden by Laura Pearson. He's a course and distance winner on soft ground. He ran a fine race in the Cambridgeshire, running on to finish second that day. He runs off. He's only a pound higher here than he's second in the Cesarewitch, but Laura Pearson takes 5 off. So in my opinion, that makes him quite nicely handicapped, actually. And this is exactly the type of race that suits this horse. He wants a big field. He wants a strong pace, and I've no doubt that this horse will be doing his best work in the finish. And I could easily, like we keep saying about these races, possibly 5 and 6 places. At 16 to 1, that's absolutely huge, I think, for this horse to finish in the first 5 at least. So Lucanda each way at a juicy 16s to squeeze in the frame, possibly win it.
Yeah, I'll be dead honest. I looked at the race before when we all have a WhatsApp group. We get this sort of thing sorted and so on and so forth. I sent over the Bunbury Cup to us to have a look at, and obviously the July Cup. I actually did want us to have a look at this race, so I delved into it feet first, only to realise that I got my races wrong. So I do actually have a selection in this. Would I say it's my best bet of the weekend? No, probably not. But seeing as though Chris was able to give 2 selections last week, though it's only fair that I'm allowed to do that as well. And yeah, again, Our Day, you and I actually tipped the horse last week. It was a non-runner. You tipped it at Royal Ascot and it was 5th. The one I actually like is it comes out of the yard of William Haggis, and he has his horses flying at the moment. I think he's operating at just around 20% strike rate. And it's Alzara Khan pause. The horse will need to improve on what he's done so far. This looks a much better race in regards to ones that it's tackled previously in terms of the strength and depth. But it has been in group company before. I mean, it was woeful in group company in listed race. I think it finished 4th or 5th, and I think stone last in a 4-runner race. That being said, though, it has been gelded since then. It's been handled with kid gloves. I think the yard do have potentially high-ish hopes for it. I think they think it could turn into a decent level handicapper. Whether or not it might need the run, it could do after its operation. But I just think, again, at 20 to 1, like you said, Matt, if this race they're paying 5 or 6 placings, I think 20 to 1 for a Haggis horse, I think that doesn't happen that often. And I just think potentially, if it does have that sort of touch of class, that the connections have certainly shown faith in it to be putting it into group level, then if it's anywhere near that good, then it should potentially do a lot better than 20 to 1. Luke, your best bet of the weekend, my friend?
It's 11 to 1, so it's quite a big run. I know it ran really poorly at Ascot last time out, and I just think it just didn't really settle. The ground was really, really against it. I think I don't think it enjoyed it at one bit. Obviously, it's going to get a bit of faster ground. I just want to see it really on fast, like I said, faster ground. Really, I think they think a lot of this horse as well. The Owners have had a winner in Sandrin today. I just at a big price. I just think it is a bit in the deep end. The horse has been thrown in the deep end a little bit, but I just think that Goodwood run still sticks in my mind, and I'm just going to stick with this one. Like I said, it's got to find a lot, but I don't know. I just can't get over that Goodwood run, and I know it's obviously this is a massive step up in class, but I just think at the price, I just think it's a little bit big. and I just think maybe you'll see a lot better horse tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah,
Connections were really quite bullish about that horse after. Well, weren't they? There was a lot of work.
It got backed in on that day as well, so there must be something in it. And I just think I just can't get past that Google run really, and I just think that it'd be interesting to see what it's like on the.
I mean, 11-1 was a massive price.
Yeah. If you're just taking it purely on that run at Ascot, then if you're judging, that's probably what it is, because it's that run at Ascot.
The race doesn't look as good as that race. You know what I mean? He still finished fifth. It wasn't great, but you know.
Yeah, I mean the winner of that race, the AP O'Brien one, wasn't it? Potentially could be very, very good. I just think that. I just think at a big price. I just think that 11-1.
No, I did say that I did have two horses that I like the look of. I will give you the other one anyway. It's probably one that I'm slightly more confident with. Comes in the last at Ascot. It's the 5:20. It's the final race. It's a 7 furlong Class 4 handicap, and I like the look of David O'Meara's Cold Stare. I know the horse will prefer a bit of cut in the ground, but he's won on good ground before, so I don't think that's going to be too detrimental. He's won in much better company than this. Now that he's in Class 4 company, I think that's a massive positive. And I think he's off such a good mark that I just can't really ignore him. He's just too appealing in terms of the weights, and now at this grade. I just think currently, I think he's priced at around 9-1. Cold Stare in the 5:20. Again, another each way selection. I'll be honest with you, the racing looked so good over the weekend that it was really hard to find something that I was that confident with, because it was, even in the smaller grade handicaps, there was quite a bit of strength in depth. But it is what it is, chaps. I'll run through them all for anyone that's watching at the moment. Let's have a look there. So we've got our selections in the major races. Saturday's selections, obviously, the Bunbury Cup for myself, Luke and Matt, and also in the July Cup. You can see them there across the screen now. And also, away from them, we also have our best bets, which is any race across the weekend. So the two I've put up there are Ascot and York. Me and Matt at York, respectively. And obviously, Luke's has gone for Massacala. I've been Rory Paddock for picturesonthepaddock.co.uk. Matt and Luke. As always, any likes, comments, and shares, always welcome. Fingers crossed. Touch wood, and good luck if you follow.